Hello everyone, I am Brian Colin, Creature Curator, and welcome to my sculpting adventure. Today is July 11th, Friday. I started sculpting this just a little while ago, had to take a break, and now I'm back to it. On today's adventure, I'm working on a dimensional canvas painting. So it's canvas board and that I'm sculpting on top of, and I'm just going to keep on adding to this as we go. If you have questions along the way about any of the process, please do not hesitate to ask me. Let's see. First things first, I need to mix up some more Magic Sculpt because I used all that I was going to use on this before I had to take a quick little break. So, I'm going to go ahead and grab a big old ball of this. This is the hardening agent. It's a two-part air drying epoxy called Magic Sculpt. Then I'm going to try and get an equal measurement of the resin part. Then we're gonna mix those two together. All right, let's see what we can do. When you get down towards the bottom of this 10-pound bucket, I find like just a paint scraper goes a long way with trying to shovel it out. All right, got a little bit there. This is not nearly as large of a mass as the other one. So let's keep this train rolling. A little bit more. And a little bit more. It's getting closer. Yeah, it's pretty close. Pinch off just a little bit more to throw that in there. Now I want to make sure I seal up my Magic Sculpt containers nice and tight. And when you mix these two together, I like to make coils. Sorry about the sticky smacking sound of my gloves grabbing on. Gonna make coils of, this one is the resin, it's the lighter of the two grays. And then going to make a coil of the hardening agent as well. Music, where have you gone, my friend? Okay, my hands aren't super gunked up yet, so I can go ahead and touch my keyboard and jump ahead to the next track. Alright, I'm just going to pull this out almost like you're stretching sugar for candy making. You see that there are two different colors there. You've got the light gray and the dark gray. We're going to twist it around and then mix these two together. And so what I'm working on, this is a commission for a friend of mine that wanted a long octopus-like tentacle going down and holding a rocket pop. And tonight I will be streaming where I'm sculpting on the head of a dog. It will be, I'm very excited about that. I'm gonna have to do some work ahead of time to get the piece ready. I'm gonna have to get a dowel rod to use as the base of the axe that it's gonna have in its mouth. I'm guessing the same chat will work from the last time. Test. And just going to keep rolling this out a little bit. You see these streams here, the ribbons. You don't want to have any of the ribbons in there. You want it to be one complete continuous color of gray. And then with this stream, I'm going to probably download all the elements and then compile them into one video, since it's probably going to be a couple videos long. Alright, I grabbed a big old batch of Magic Sculpt. I'm going to break this in two. Let's see if we can get this sculpting session sculpted completely out today, so it can dry and I can do the painting. Alright, I think this batch is good to mix with the other one once the other one's mixed up a little bit more. Starting to make some notes to myself. since it's been a while since streaming last time. I think I need to make sure I have a rag handy to dab my forehead from the hot light coming my way. Alright. Now that I got those, let's mix these together. Once these are together, we'll be ready to start sculpting. Now, I did mix a giant batch, so we should be able to do, I think, almost the entire rest of the sculpture with this. So, with the last suckers, I'd done like donut shape. I'm going to do a similar thing, where I'm kind of making a donut-like shape, and then we'll end up mashing it down into the canvas board. I'm just going to get the base shapes down now, because once you first mix up Magic Sculpt, it's a little bit tacky, and it's not really to the point where I like to work it down into the piece yet, so I'm just going to get a foundation going here. Then once we get all the ones up there, then we'll start spraying it with water and working it down into the board. Also with this, let's bring this one over. I'm going to roll this out into a coil and get a little donut action going here. This just gives me a good starting point for getting things worked in well. And I will be building up the outer portion of this tentacle as well, so that it's not so flat there with this jumping off so far. There's just something about this piece that wanted to be more dimensional. Hopefully this will be okay with the guy that's picking it up from me. And gonna throw down a little bit more here. I guess I should send out a quick note to all my email subscribers, letting them know that I will be streaming tonight. That'd be nice. Okay, I'm gonna just make a bunch of these coils, then we'll work them all down. And we'll still have a ton of Magic Sculpt left to make the bomb pop, and then to as well make the build-up of the tentacle part. Alright, get that down there. Hopefully some folks will jump in, and if anybody has decided to tune in and is watching and has any questions or would just like to chat, please do not hesitate to do so. It's oftentimes far more fun than me just talking to myself. Although I can seem to manage to fill some time. Yeah. I feel like I'm putting on a whole lot of Magic Sculpt here, but that's okay. Okay, let's do that. Now let's go ahead and work some of this in. Whoa, that is not my water bottle, that's a microphone. Better not be messing up the microphone, I just got it. Okay, so I'm squirting this just with some straight water, just in a water bottle, and this will allow the Magic Sculpt to be smoothed and blended really nice and easily. And I just want to blend it down into the canvas board, get it a nice clean pairing to the board. And also kind of work out any of the little indentations and dents that I had from the beginning. And just gonna keep blending this in. And I do want the suckers to kind of have a little more of a waviness, a little more organic feel to them, almost like a sea anemone. Anemone? Yep, I think that's the correct pronunciation. If not, that's okay. So I think it'll have a nicer flow doing it that way. I also have to factor in that this will probably end up getting framed, so it's not just, so it should be boxed in a little bit. Okay. Alright, now I'm gonna slide this over a bit. We're gonna do these, and then I'll put some texture into it from there. put some lines and details. And now when I have it up against this bottom surface, I want to try and get it nice and flat because I don't want that to be disruptive if it gets framed. Yo. And again, with just working some water onto this, goes a long way with the Magic Sculpt. Just blending it in. And this will grip on super tight to the canvas board. The canvas board has a little bit of texture to it from the gesso that's on there. So this will give it all sorts of grip. This stuff's never going to come off of here. I mean, if you worked really hard, it would come off, but it would take some serious effort. So I'm just going to keep on dropping, working these tentacles in, blending it in. All right. This is going to be super fun to paint. Okay, now I see where these two are starting to blend together, so I'm going to bring this blade in to kind of separate it out just a little bit. And the thing with the tentacle part that's already sculpted, that is still soft because it was just a little while ago, so that hasn't had the chance to completely firm up yet. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. All right, now I think we've got a good foundation for starting to put some more detail in. Except I think this should be a little flatter. This should be up a bit. Push some of that Magic Sculpt over. All right. Now what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take this knife, just kind of bring it along the edge, and give it a little bit cleaner of an edge, since this is more of a hard line form of the edge of the octopus tentacle. I'm just going to push it in, and I'll blend it. I'll use some water, and basically, even though I want it to smooth down into the wood, into the board of the canvas, I still want it to have that edge. I'm just going to spray it down a little bit, and then I'll just shape it up. Shape. All right. So there we go, and that's shaped up. Now that we've got that in there, I'm going to take the same blade. It just looks like a little knife. I'm going to flip it on its backside. Scrape off some of that excess. And I'm going to put some lines in, coming down. Need to spray that a little bit. Come on. Just going to spray it with some water. Then I'm going to just pull some lines down just to give some texture in here, because that'll be nice when it comes time for painting this beastie up. Hopefully I can paint this in the next couple of days. Be awesome to deliver this next week. And then I'm also going to put some texture on the inside of the tentacles when it comes time. And I'm going to put a little bit of a bigger groove in here. Now I'm letting some of the texture of the canvas come through, because I can paint, I mean this whole thing's going to be painted, so leaving a little of that's not a big deal. So I'm just going to keep on putting some of these crackly lines in the tentacles, or in the suckers. Making more visual interest come painting time. Alright. Not too many, especially as it starts getting back a little bit smaller. Now let's go ahead and put this big old slab of Magic Sculpt. Pull this closer. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to put a little bit of the texture inside the tentacles that I did on the other ones. which is just using a texture map. I call them texture maps. It's probably not the right term. Just basically a rubber pad that's got texture on it. I've created a lot of my own. This is one that I purchased. Allows you to quickly get texture in on sculpts without having to just do a lot of busy handwork. Alright. Let's see. Get a little in there and a little in there. There we go. That should be good. Alright, let's see if my... Alright, so now that that's done, I'm going to go in and start sculpting out the bomb pop before adding more depth and dimension to the tentacle base. Because right now the tentacle base is feeling flat, but I want it to be flat towards the back of it, but up towards where the suckers are, I want it to have a little more body. But while that's happening, let's go ahead and start working on the rocket pop. And the rocket pop doesn't have to be super high off of the board, because I want it to kind of fall to the background just a little bit. It's interesting working on this canvas board as I'm pressing down in the center, seeing the bounce. It's got a little more give in the center area because it's further away from the support of the frame. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do coils for the edges that are more elevated, and then I'll just kind of blend them down, and I think that'll help give the depth that I want of the rocket pop. I'll go ahead and cut out some of this here. I'll do the same on the other side. And then we'll just kind of blend it down in and smooth it down and around the edges, and it'll totally give it that wavy feel of the rocket pop. And if it doesn't, we'll just sculpt more on top of it. This is almost completely roughed in. Let's get that all the way. I think this is going to be super fun to paint. Alright, so now that I've got that, I'm going to spray it down with some water because it's looking really rough. And I want this to have that smooth popsicle feel. And the water goes a long way with smoothing this magic sculpt out. I'm going to go ahead and use my thumbnail to kind of bring it around to a cleaner shape. Now I'm probably going to have to use a tool to do that even better, but for now that's okay, and I'll do the same thing on the edges here. Just smoothing this down. Then we'll have to do the popsicle stick, but I may just leave that where that's just painted on. And not actually have that built up. Although maybe it'd be good to have that. Just a little more dimension, just have it really, really flat. Okay, smoothing this out. Need some more water. And also with a bomb pop, it comes up a little bit here, so I'm going to have to build that ridge line up a bit more as well. Alright, this is starting to get to a good level and texture, I think. I'm going to put just a little teeny tiny thin coil down on the base just to make it easier to blend in. Just going to push this down, mash it down into the board. Do the same thing on this side. Do a little bit more. Hey, Ham Samurai! Awesome, thanks. You on your lunch break? I finally got to jump back in. I was surprised. My father-in-law had stopped by and dropped off a new lawnmower and weed eater, which is awesome because mine were a pile and a super challenge. It's a super challenge every time I have to mow the lawn, and I'm not somebody that really loves to mow their lawn, so that's why I had to bounce off of here, because he had come to the door and no one else is home. But totally worth having to step out and start the stream back up. Oh, I'm sorry he's not feeling good. So, he 3 months old now? Has it been that long? Sick when they're really young is always pretty scary. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm very I'm very bad at time, sense of time. But yeah, uh, our oldest would get sick regularly as a kid, but our youngest, she has barely gotten sick at all and gets over it super fast. But I always remember, especially like in the middle of the night, waking up and freaking out, knowing that there was not a lot that could be done at that time of day. How's life been other than the current sick? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. That sucks. And even though like kids are supposed to drink like, infants are supposed to drink like Pedialyte if they're extra sick, it was really a challenge for me to get my kids to do Pedialyte because there's something that just tastes awful about it. Right on. Yeah, parenthood is a great thing. Glad to be back streaming. I'm hoping I can get back to a regularly scheduled stream here over the next week or so. Try and figure out what my weekly stream schedule will be after this weekend's done, and try and make it happen for the rest of the year. See where it goes. Come on, water. Need to fill this thing back up. There we go. Just wanted to put a little more depth on this side of the rocket pop. Bulk it up just a little bit. One of the things I can make this look like it's a little bit melty, so it's not quite as big of a deal if it's not all super nice and geometric. So not good at the geometric shapes. I do need to make sure that there aren't any weird lines coming through here. I imagine you haven't been doing anything, any adventuring over the summer, since your son's only 4 months old. He has a son, right? Yes, you said his. Thought I'd remembered that correctly, but you never know. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to leave the majority of the rocket pop, but I am going to do some straight lines to separate the coloration. And for that, let's see, let's see if I can reach this floss without destroying my camera. Okay, that's not going to work. Usually I use dental floss to do a straight line across something. Let's see if I can use this. It's not going to curve quite the same way. Okay, that's good enough. I'll use that as a base. Wow, that's crazy. How old was he when you went? You are far more adventurous than I would ever be. Come on, get some water on there. That's guts. I'm gonna scrape off some of the magic sculpt on my tool just to make it a little bit cleaner. And pull some this way. Now this line is just, I like having the slight separation in the color, but this doesn't have to be there. I'm just gonna do another with the shovel tool. I'm dropping everything today. Right on. Alright, so I'm putting these lines in just to get a sense of where the different colors are going to come in for the rocket pop. It'll be a nice little separator. Pull my X-Acto knife off the ground. Alright, so I've got that. I still have a massive amount of magic sculpt because I mixed up a whole bunch. I could do a little bit of texture with the popsicle stick, but I think I'm just going to paint that on. That being said, I want to go ahead and block out areas because I want to bulk this up where the body of the tentacle goes to the underside. So I'm going to start it here. I'm basically going to put chunks of it on. Oops. I'm going to put chunks of it on and work it down, and then I'll smooth it into what's already there. And then add texture. Then I'll go around the piece and see where I want to add more textures and details. See where I want to clean things up. A little bit here. And then once this stuff's on, we'll just smooth it all down. And then I'm gonna throw this one down in as well. I think I mixed up too much magic sculpt. A little bit more. I think it needs to stop there so it can fade in. And then I will do a little bit here to make this more over top of that. All right. Now that I got that, I'm gonna turn this thing around. I'm gonna flip it upside down. I think that'll help me smooth it from this side a little bit. Just gonna get that nice and wet with the water and blend this stuff in. And I'm gonna have to turn it around from time to time to see how it's working into the rest of it. And blend this. And smooth this down in. Come on, smooth. Oh, Beetlejuice, please do not knock that monitor over. That would not be cool. Okay, gonna smooth this a little bit more. Let's see how it's looking from the other side. I like how from the top side it's starting to bulk that up a little bit. I think it might be a little excessive there, but let's bring this in together. Blend that down. Get that edge. Yeah, I think this is going to work out well. I think this is going to work out just fine. Alright, time to squirt this one with some water. Just wants to push itself off of here and go closer to the tentacle, which is totally fine. Sometimes you gotta let the clay go where the clay is going to go. As long as there's room for the frame there, let's bring this around, blend this down. Alright. Gotta blend these lines in just a little bit more. And pull some of this up, blend. Alright, gonna get these all done up. I think this being back to streaming as a test stream today has proven pretty good. Feel like everything's set up good. Nothing is wonky, so should be able to stream just fine this evening. Hey Arcane Red, thank you for the follow. I hope your day is going well. If you haven't been watching long, I am working on a sculpted canvas piece. It's going to be a dimensional piece. It's 20 by 10. That's a commission that somebody asked me to do. And normally I do weird monster taxidermy stuff, and I'll be sculpting on a head this evening that's kind of a dog-like head. I'll be doing that tonight at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But I wanted to give streaming a test during the day today because it's been a while since I've been on Twitch. Thank you. Good morning. And so I'm just building this canvas up a little bit because I prefer to paint dimensionally. I could have done this as a flat painting, but I really wanted to sculpt it. All right, so I'm going to take what kind of looks like a little shovel and bring this in to start putting some details back into this overlaid tentacle here. It's just spraying it with some basic water. Now I'm going to pull some lines in, just that'll help add texture and dimension when I go to paint. It'll be pretty subtle now, and it'll even be subtle then, but when I spray paint it black to give it a base coating, it'll make those cracks easy to fill in, and I can do some dry brushing on top to really make the painting look good. Alright, so here we go with a little bit more. There's going to be lots of those lines, and then I'm also going to come back in with a texture map. This is a texture that I've created. It used a paper that had like an orange peel type texture on it. It's very subtle, but when I press down on it, it's going to help give a little bit more texture to the magic sculpt once it dries. It's hard to see from the camera, but it gives just like a nice little skin porous type texture. So Arcane, do you do any of the arts? I'm gonna keep spraying this a little bit more. I'm gonna actually bring some of this down in here, smooth down some of the seams under here just a little bit. Pull some of this up. Wipe some of that off on the apron because that is what it is there for. Give this one a little bit of a texture as well. I want to put a little bit right there. Let's see, pull a little bit more of these lines in. Smooth this down just a little bit since that was sculpting earlier, although it is still a little bit smooth. Right on. What is, I'm not familiar with Gunpla. Or Gunpla? What is that? And I love, I use miniature paints when I do all of my painting. I use Reaper's paints and thoroughly love their the paints that they make. Gotta spray this a little bit more. And still pulling up with the shovel tool to give it some lines. Oh, right on. Cool. I've never given model building a try. I imagine it would be very it'd be very fun to do. Although I have a very hard time following directions. I tend to jump around, and I think I would probably mess something up pretty bad. But I love when I see them in comic stores and see them built and see how awesome they look. Oh, right on. Now that we're moving to smaller parts and the foreshortening is going to start happening, I'm going to bring in smaller, thinner lines so it's not quite as wide and heavy. Just to kind of help add to the foreshortening a little bit. I will use the shovel tool to help smooth this down in a beveled way around that sucker. I'll do it here. I'll go ahead and do it all the way up. Oh, right on. Yeah, I think every part having its own instructions would definitely help compartmentalize things for me. Need to spray this a little bit. I need these to have definite separation because it's like the tentacle goes down and then there's the underpart coming up from underneath of it, so. Working on the radio. Okay, gonna add some more of the texture to this. Let's see. And a little bit over here. All right, I've got a little bit of Magic Sculpt left that I haven't used yet, so I should probably do something with it. I'm going to stand this up for a second so I can look at it, so I can see where things work, where things don't. So there are definitive lines where I did not blend this in very well, so I'm going to fix that so it doesn't look all jacked up. So right here I can see lines of the Magic Sculpt that I did not blend in well enough. So let's see what I can do about that. Probably gonna have to come back and retexture this, but that's okay. Let's make this a little bit better with the blend. Come on, figure. Work that Magic Sculpt down into one another. Usually when I do this, I have one that's completely hardened, like I take a break, let it completely solidify. But since I had to take an unexpected break earlier today, didn't really have time to completely harden, so it's like the under sculpt towards the top is just partially hardened, so it makes it a little bit harder to blend in. That's okay. We'll make this pretty. Clean up those lines. Worst case, we just sand it down and build on top again. Plus, once this is painted, it'll look good. All right, so I've got that. Spray this down again. Add some more texture to it. Bloop, bloop. All right, I think that is looking okay. On the set that I couldn't go. I think part of it's also just the coloration. Part of it that's drier. The color changes just a little bit, ever so slightly. Gonna come along the edge here. Just get a nice clean elevation. Just using my fingernail. Smooth these things down just a little bit. I'll definitely give it extra dimension when looking at it from the when it's on the wall with the paint on it. It's gonna be a fun one. Okay. I'm just gonna smooth some of these suckers out just a little bit, so I think they'll be a little more interesting to paint with that. Just a little bit of overage on the bottom side. So I've got just a little bit of Magic Sculpt left, but I don't really want to do anything there. This little corner here has a little bit of a chip out of it. Fix that up real quick. Just smooth that down. Alright, and let's see. Clean up this rocket pop just a little bit more. Put a little bit around this edge. Build this side up just a little bit more. Alright. I think that's as far as this is going to go in this sculpting session. So I've sculpted a little bit, then I took a break, then I sculpted a little bit more, but I think this one is ready to let it dry and see if I need to do any additions to it afterwards. I will be sculpting again this evening at 9:30 Eastern Time. It will be, let's see if I can find the layer in OBS real quick. Come on, there we go. Concept small. Whoops. I will be sculpting the dog creature that I just threw in the window. It will have an axe coming out of its mouth. It'll have war paint on it once it's painted. And I will be starting that from the ground up this evening at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But for now, I should probably go ahead and go do a little bit more work. Maybe get lunch. We shall see. I will start having a regular streaming schedule again, and I will figure out exactly what that schedule is next week. So, Arcane, thank you for tuning in. Ham Samurai, thank you for tuning in. Anybody else that may be lurking in the background, thanks for the watch. I hope that I will see you again on my creature curation. Thanks, everybody.